Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another Deathmatch Expert 1 vs 1 game. Today we have a really interesting match between Leisure in the blue and VNS Priest in the yellow. They're doing a Chinese war, which is a very interesting deathmatch game because you start with 6 villagers instead of 3. Here we can see Yellow is going with the standard all on different stables opening in order to get the early camels out. Instead, Blue, on the other hand, is using all of his villagers to create one castle. This is a risky strategy because the villagers are working very inefficiently. However, it does pay off every now and then because, he just killed his first scout of the opponent and he's already creating Chuko news. Here we can see some trash talk from the players. Priest is claiming to have invented this style of opening, which I just think is very funny, so some very good humor. And Blue took the time to write all of that, which is pretty funny. Anyways, over on the yellow side, he's going for an early monastery to get some relics out, and while he knows he cannot push this early army, because this is AOC after all, and the camels die very quickly to the castles, he does know that if he can capture this gold on the side, and the relic here, and the relic here, and the relic here, he'll have a better, longer game advantage. And this shows you how risky it is to do this pseudo-clump, so to speak, from Blue. Here he does have a stronger army coming out soon, with these Chukonus, which counter camels, and some onagers, and eventually rams from these siege workshops. Over here on the top, Yellow has instead decided to go with a more boom approach because he knows he can't push the army, so he might as well take advantage of that, but I don't like how he's doing it because he doesn't seem to have that many military buildings out. I mean, he has siege workshops, but they're kinda all over the place. Anyways, down here, it looks like Blue is going for some monasteries of his own to capture those relics, and his Chukonu are moving forward because it looks like he wants to take out some of Yellow's units. If you look at the fog of war, he's just now seeing these buildings here, but he can see this right here because the map is explored, so he probably knows that there are some buildings going up there. Yellow, on the other hand, is flanking, and he's catching these Chukonu out of position. They're not clumped up, so he's going to get some good surrounds, and I think these are going to get cleaned up, unfortunately, for Leisure. Down here, it looks like he could have added some Chukonu to the fight, but instead of trying to get a really good engagement, a big head-on engagement, he wants to just kill small groups of enemy units and weaken his opponent that way. I think both players are trying to do this approach. See, Blue's going to try to take this engagement, Yellow's trying to scout out the area, but neither player really wants to have some large engagements. Looking at the population, Leisure is 10 villagers ahead and about 20 military ahead, or 10 military ahead, so that does show you how the openings affect the rest of your game. And it looks like Yellow's going to get some easy kills on some Chukonu again. These onagers could be doing work, but they're really not. So that's not that big of a deal, I guess. Down here again, Chukonu, kind of not really doing anything. They need to be helping these guys. So it looks like each player is just trying to get better small-scale engagements instead of a big head-on fight, which seems to be my experience how you oftentimes have to play the Chinese, because a head-on fight can be very risky if your enemy has onagers. It seems that these camels are not going to pay off because even though Leisure has fully upgraded Cavaliers, he's not going for them right now. Instead, he's opted to go solely into Chukonu and onagers. It's interesting because this is oftentimes a very risky and very fragile army composition, but in a Chinese war, where your opponents don't have paladins or siege onagers or bombard cannons, it does work fine. These Chukonu could get shot, but a nice split there from Leisure. He's trying to avoid those onagers, and he takes out 4 of them right there, some more splits. Trying to kill these onagers up here. Does get a small onager shot, but it's not a big deal, and that's a very good trade for him. His opponent lost 6 onagers virtually for free there. He did take an onager, but it's not that big of a deal for Leisure, so a good engagement. He has these trebs out, and more Chukonus coming in as reinforcements. Looks like Priest is trying to attack more, but again, just being lured into those onagers, so is going to be forced to retreat right there. Looks like Blue is... It's hard to say what he's going to do. If we go through his workshops, he's not really making siege rams, even though he has the gold for it, which I think is a mistake. He needs to add some siege rams to push. Both players on similar gold counts, so they have about 2,000 left, so they can still field a few more units. But at their villagers, they're starting to get their economies up, and Leisure has surpassed Priest this match. Oh, those onagers are going to die virtually for free. This is an interesting thing about Chinese wars, that it's very awkward, because the Chukonu are relatively good against the onagers, because they deal melee damage, and because they deal multiple arrows. Over here, looks like some more idle units for Priest. I don't know if he just forgot about them or if he's trying to mass there. But again, Camel's not really doing anything. He does see Blue's army here, but there's nothing he can really do. They're both at about the pop cap. Actually, Leisure is about 30 behind. But there's really nothing he can do against this, because these Camels right here are basically wasted population space. He could be around here raiding with them, but again, this is AOC, and Camels are just so squishy to defensive buildings in Age of Conquerors. So it's a very weird situation to be in. These Camels will get aggroed, and they'll die. So again, that was a big mistake early on from Priest. He did have to save the Camels, but he just lost population space there, so I think I would have tried to kill some onagers or kill Eco with them. Looking at the two players' ecos, it looks like Leisure has 7,000 of each of the other two resources in the bank, while Yellow is not very balanced at all. He has way too much food and not nearly enough wood, so that's not good for either of them. We got a small engagement up on the right side, some onagers doing some work, some pretty sweet onager trades right there, but Blue does have the onagers in the back, and if he can snipe these cavalry units, he can get some good onager shots off. If he had just moved the Chukonu forward a little bit, though, those onagers would have come into the battle a few minutes earlier, and he would have won that engagement. While now these trebuchets very will likely go down. Instead, however, he seems to be paying attention to up here. But again, where are the onagers for these fights right here? Sure, he's winning this fight, but it could have been just a better engagement. Over here, it looks like down lower in the map, Yellow is trying to raid Blue's economy. Did idle some villagers there and kill a good deal of them on gold, which is always something you want to do. But again, more Chukonu and some critically onagers coming out. I think we're starting to see a theme of this game where whoever is able to use their Chukonu most effectively will win. And just look at Yellow, he's wasting all of his shots on the town center. There, I'm messaging Leisure right there. That's kind of funny. I was talking with him when this game was going. But look at that onager shots. This destroyed those units. They lost them for virtually free. So that's a big loss for Yellow. Looks like Blue has been raiding himself up here, trying to push into the north corner of the map in sort of a spearhead approach with Trebs, Chukonu, and onagers, which just seems to be the ideal army composition. Because you need a mass of any type of unit for it to be effective, especially archers. And you only have 200 population, so you might as well keep it simple, stupid. Looks like Yellow's trying to raid with Light Cav, a pretty common raiding unit you'll see in 1v1 games, but this castle will deal with them. Yeah, he'll get some good kills, but that's a lot of food lost right there. Looks like while both players are just ignoring each other's armies. Oh, and Blue is going to lose 3 onagers right here, along with a good portion of his gold economy. So that's very unfortunate for him, and the rams are coming in from Yellow. However, I don't think this counterattack will be enough to defend, or to rather equalize the losses, so to speak, from these Trebs and onagers right here. The Chukonu are out of position up here, and he is going to lose some onagers, 2 onagers lost right there. These Trebs may go down to these other onagers unless he micros them. And the Camels are finally being useful right now, taking out some trebuchets. Few Chukonu will come in, but it's just too little too late, and it's not going to be very helpful at defending the siege. He will stop his opponent from completely destroying him, though, getting some castles out. Over on the far right corner, looks like Yellow has decided to take this. But notice that he hasn't built any workshops, any castles, or anything over here, so having map control doesn't give him a gold, it only gives him a stone, so it's not that big of a deal. In the center of the map, the battle has kind of stabilized out, Yellow's push has been stopped, and Blue simply has more Chukonu. And again, it looks like he will have enough to win this engagement, but the camels are coming in again, catching these Chukonu out of position. This is very unfortunate for Blue. And this just shows you how difficult deathmatch is, because in random map, you don't see this sort of major throws like this among top players. These are expert 2K players right here. But it's just so much to micro and manage and macro and deathmatch that it's very difficult to do. However, if you look at the buildings of each player, Yellow has had far more buildings destroyed up here because he didn't have that many to begin with, which I thought was kind of weird. Instead, his buildings are kind of spread out, which doesn't really work in creating a strong base. And these castles right here are going to just repel anything that gets into right here along with these Chukonu. So it's going to be very hard for Yellow to win the game, and he does call the GG. It's pretty obvious that even though Yellow had some good engagements, some good onager shots, Blue simply had the better map control, and he took advantage of Yellow's failure in order to create a really strong base up front. And along with a few lucky onager shots, he won this game, and I think that was some expert strategy from Blue. Even though he didn't have the better engagements, in my opinion, he had the better macro, which is why he has won this game. Anyways, thanks for watching, I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next expert cast or normal video.